What is up, guys? Florida Man does weather. We are back with another forecast. We've got a big day coming up in Iowa on Monday. Today, we've got a pretty broad slight risk out across much of the upper Midwest and central plains. I do think your main risk area for this is going to be western to southwestern Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, down to about Lubbock. We are already starting to see the stronger 500 millibar flow traverse the area. There is also slightly better convergence along the dry line in this area. So your dry line is really, let me get this going. I'll get observations in. So your dry line is currently sitting in about this area. Your surface winds are starting to butt up against it a little bit more. And then you've got surface cyclogenesis that's going to be happening out here. But the main player is going to be tomorrow, Monday, April 28th. I think we are looking at significant tornado outbreak potential as we go through today and tonight across Iowa. You are going to feel the moisture start to slightly increase. Then, especially as we get into tonight, you're probably going to have some advection showers as that air mass modifies. And then tomorrow morning, stage is really going to start to get set. You can see your surface cyclone is probably going to be somewhere back in here. It'll be moving kind of like this up into Minnesota, and it'll drag this warm front and warm sector with it. Pretty broad, expansive warm sector. Let me get over to 18Z. Personally, I think storms could very easily fire just a little bit after 18Z, which is should be about noon to 1 p.m. in the Central Plains, Midwest. I think your storms are probably going to start firing off about then, and the environment that we have tomorrow is really going to be prime. Let's get this going. So our low-level jet is going to be strengthening throughout the afternoon, and we've got a little bit of a cap, but that's something that you want to see if you're forecasting a tornado outbreak. Unfortunately, you want to see the warm inversion. That way, you can bake the surface, get those temperatures up, and I think we'll end up seeing temperatures in the upper 70s. And once we hit that, that is when things will likely come to fruition out here. We've got significant forcing. Lots of CAPE is going to be building in the area. Good low freezing levels. So hail is going to be a big issue with any supercell that fires off. And just looking at these initial photographs, plenty of deep layer shear. And like I said, you're going to watch this on the next frame that I select. This low level part of the photograph is really going to loop out. So once I kick it off to 21Z, not only have your dew points increased, you're going to see a significant buildup in that low level region. Just a
Something to
little bit
look
more.
at too, if you when you're looking at the photographs, and this one actually here at 21Z when the caps broke,
Mhm.
um, points out you've already got Cape at 2500 before the cap is even overcome, and
Got it,
as
bro.
the temperature continues to bake at that surface, as that development is inhibited, all that's going to do is just going to add to the available CAPE in the atmosphere because that parcel of air is just going to get that much warmer before it begins to rise. Um, I was looking at the analysis of a couple of other meteorologists, and one of them brought up a good point. Um, Whenever you're forecasting, you try to use the term outbreak sparingly. You usually save the term outbreak for events that don't have very much of a fail safe, a fail mode, something that could get in the way to prevent an outbreak from happening. And unfortunately, when you're looking at tomorrow, um, with every run that we get closer and closer to tomorrow, the fail modes are diminishing rapidly. It's looking like there's not going to really be an option. There's not going to be a, well, if this dynamic doesn't make it in, if the jet doesn't make it in time, if the moisture plume doesn't work out, it looks like all of the ingredients are falling into place. Ample heating to overcome a pretty strong cap. It's going to be there in the morning. It's what, like 6 or 7 degrees that it would need to overcome, and it's going to overcome that by probably about 8. So I mean, there's going to be a cap enough to hold it, and then once it breaks, it's going to break explosively, like you were saying, Caleb, without freezing level being as low as it is. It's really incredible. Looks like it's under 1 kilometer in that sounding right there. Um, with that
A
freezing
little
level
bit
being
higher.
a little bit higher,
Yeah.
hard to see on the map from my end. But
Yeah,
with it,
you're good.
yeah, with it being even there, with it being that low, you're gonna have some monster hail in addition to that threat for tornadoes. And with that ample shear, it looks like you can correct me, but it looks like looking at the screen here, the shear is at like about 65 knots at about 650 millibars, something like that. Looks like that's more than enough shear.
650. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
more than enough shear to set off a tornado outbreak.
we've got incredible shear. And one of the concerns initially with this setup was what kind of convective mode are we going to see, linear or discrete cells? So a couple days ago, the wind profile was a little bit more paralleling the front. Now it's kind of like this. So your front is coming in a bit like this, and your wind is moving like this. So
Yep.
your storms are going to develop, and then they are going to race off of that front. And I
Yeah.
think we're likely going to see a line of about 6 to 7, 8 supercells probably across this area. And I know the environment in Northeast Iowa is just that little bit worse because it is going to be on the plume of just slightly higher low-level jet. We've got almost, what is that? 45, almost a 50 knot low level jet before nightfall is even there. So very, very long photograph loops, plenty of low level shear and mixed layer shear. We're pushing close to 3,000 at some points with some soundings I grabbed. So this is a very, very volatile setup, and this does extend further north into southeast Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin. Let me branch over to here. So these are your hodograph and surface-based cape overlaps. Now, surface-based I don't like as much, but it'll still give you a pretty clear picture. So when your surface-based capes are approaching like 3,500, 4,000 joules per kilogram, you can assume that your mix layer is probably only like 500 joules lower than that. So ample instability, and it really just rides all the way up. So you got these big, long, looping hodographs, and this is just going to encourage cyclic tornado production with any supercells that end up marching across the state. And they are going to be moving southwest to northeast, definitely Ames, Des Moines, Fort Dodge. Um, I think it's Mason City. Big time watch out in those areas. Waterloo, Iowa, definitely watch out. We're really going to have to watch satellite and see where things are starting to take off because for some reason the short-term model HRRR, their 12Z run showed literally no convection occurring in Iowa. I don't think that's accurate at all. Um, just for example, this is at 10Z, so like 5 a.m. Central Time. And all this you're seeing over here, this is just your advection showers from warm air advection, likely demarcates where that warm front has already passed through. So let me just, out of curiosity, take a sample of northern Iowa. So we've already got a pretty decent moist layer. Your capping layer is really not present at all. So if this were the case, storms are going to fire a little bit earlier, but they are still going to run into a very high shear environment with decent enough instability, even if we don't get the clear skies that that you would usually end up seeing before a big outbreak like this. But one of the things that'll sometimes happen, I've seen this with winter set, you will go from foggy 50s temperatures, 50s dew points, and then right when that warm front passes over you, the fog clears out. You get sunny skies for like 30 minutes, and then storms just absolutely blow up. So this is an incredibly volatile setup, even down the line.
Models
So
are going to be the models are suggesting, and it's all the ingredients are in place that there's going to be a rapid modification of the atmosphere as well as we progress. You may even see multiple with the moisture plume being as rich as it is and the Cape environment being as high as it is. It is not out of the question to see more than one band of supercells come through as well. You could possibly see two or three. I mean, who knows how many training lines of supercells where you'll get, like you were saying, Caleb, five, six, seven in a line. They race away from the front, and all the forcing, the the moisture just keeps returning, and you get another line fires and the line races off. Another line forms and the line races off. I mean, this is the reason why everybody's chattering and saying there could possibly be an outbreak because um, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. You also have to worry as well. It depends, obviously, on where the storms fire, where the tornadoes are produced. Um, but these may not be tornadoes that are out in the open and not rain wrapped. Those are some really, really high dew points. And as the model progresses, that mid layer, that dry mid layer, a lot of it does modify and filter out. So there is a possibility you could have large rain wrapped tornadoes. You could still have your classic Midwest tornadoes that are wide out in the open, but there's also a really good chance that you could have some HP supercells that hide monsters inside the rain curtains. And just something to take note. Shear is high. The atmosphere is going to be explosive. Listen, I chased the 2021 high risk in Alabama. Every storm that fired rotated. Like everything that formed, even the shallow base storms, they had even if it was weak, there was a mesocyclone associated with it. If you live in the Midwest, if you live in this zone tomorrow, assume every storm that fires has the potential to cause trouble. Doesn't mean that it will. The potential will definitely be there. Do not play games with this. Obviously, we're at a mod risk today. They usually try to wait to issue high risks until the day of or the evening before. Um, I expect this one to probably go high risk. That's not saying that SPC will. Model runs could say stuff differently this afternoon, but I can tell you, looking at the parameters, I think Caleb, you agree. It looks like this is going to be a high risk day tomorrow, and even if it's not a high risk day tomorrow, even if it stays as a mod, this event has the potential to overachieve for sure.
Yeah, and Iowa, we've seen what enhanced risk can do. The longest tornado track in Iowa history occurred on an enhanced risk 10% chance of tornadoes day. So do not let your guard down. Do not underestimate this. Even down into Oklahoma, I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if they put a
No.
10% enhanced hatch out in Oklahoma. We've got significant pooling of moisture down here. Now, the overall deep layer shear is a little bit weaker, and we're obviously going to be dealing with even more of a capping issue as we have the entire time this year. But as we get into the evening hours down here, um, I believe something will pop across central Oklahoma. And this is 0Z, so 8 to 7 p.m. You are going to see a little bit of an enhancement of your hodograph. The low level
Mhm.
winds will pick up down here, albeit not as strong as across Iowa, but it'll still be noticeable. And when you've got this much of a reservoir of Cape, we're pushing 2,500 plus joules in the mix there.
Yep.
Anything that goes off on the dry line, cold front down there, it's going to be kind of diffuse and slow moving. So anywhere that there is good convergence could pop off a storm in central Oklahoma. I could easily see maybe one or two big supercells. They're definitely going to have a hail threat if they can't overcome the warm layer. Your tornado threat's going to be minimized just because
Yep.
that warm layer really slows down your updraft. So you can't get that low level stretching of vorticity that you need for tornadoes, but it'll shove enough through to where you can get massive hail growth above it. Because we got a similar situation. Freezing levels are pretty low. They're at what is this? Probably like 4 kilometers up. So that's not too high for this time of year. And you got a ton of energy within your hail growth layer. So anything down there would produce massive hail, potentially tornadoes if the capping can be overcome. But I would assume any supercell that forms down there also capable of very strong tornadoes, just not as likely to happen as it is in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
One
Definitely keep your eyes out up here, guys.
one thing you're gonna have to keep an eye on too is don't make don't make the mistake of oh, it's just a slight risk. Oh, it's just an enhanced risk. That's not saying anything about storm intensity. That's saying that's the amount of storms, the amount of storm coverage. All it takes is one. You get one, two supercells in Oklahoma that are not contending with anything else. If they overcome the cap, those storms can very easily become monsters. It's
Mhm.
like you were saying, some of the biggest tornadoes come from slights and enhanced. If you look at them back in the day, yeah, obviously your high risks, your mod risks, they have monsters that they produce, but some of your really big tornadoes in even recent times have come from slight risks where there was only one, two supercells, and you know, to take a look at the Essex, Nebraska monster the other day. It was a last minute upgrade to enhance. There was only two supercells in the region. Those two supercells weren't fighting with anything. So all of the energy in the air funneled through one updraft, created an absolute behemoth of a storm. That's going to be the kind of thing you
Mhm.
got to look out for tomorrow in Oklahoma. If those storms do fire, if they can root themselves on the surface, you have problems down there too. So don't count it out. Also, convective inhibition is going to be high with that cap for a while during the day. That means you're not going to have any parasitic clouds. Parasitic clouds keep the surface from heating up. Whenever you have convective inhibition holding those clouds away, those mid and upper level clouds away, where you don't have garbage clouds keeping things cool and hampering development, hampering surface based heating, that's the things you got to look for. That is rampant tomorrow from the upper Midwest all the way down to the upper portions of Texas. Look out. Tomorrow will be a very active day.
So one quick recap. Two ways I think this goes in Iowa tomorrow. If this will load, please go forward. So either we get early, kind of noon to 2 p.m. initiation. I'm talking Central Time as well. If we get that earlier initiation, I would say your biggest threat area is likely going to ride somewhere around this zone. Just because your storms are forming earlier, they're going to be moving southwest to northeast. But if they form a little bit later, if we're talking like 4 or 5 p.m., they're probably going to initiate a little bit further south. As you can see, you got a plume of higher moisture, plume of
Mm-hmm.
lower, still good enough moisture, but we're talking dew points in the 60s versus dew points in the 70s. That is kind of like a pseudo dry line almost. So if storms decide to initiate a little later, I think they would initiate closer to the Des Moines metro, the Ames area, and then those would push off more towards Waterloo, Mason City, into southwest Wisconsin and southeast Minnesota. Definitely a bit of a timing difference to watch out for. So I'll keep my eyes on the visible satellites so we can, really assess those cumulus fields, assess for where initiation looks most likely.
Yes.
Um, Hopefully we get some good balloon launches tomorrow that will hopefully they show the cap is way stronger than predicted because that's about the only thing that I could see preventing this is under modeled cap at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
And you got to
everything is primed.
keep in mind too, the later the storms fire, the stronger they're going to be because, like you were saying, the earlier storms, lower dew points, they're going to start working the atmosphere over. That's going to start getting in the way. There's going to be uh, downdrafts that are creating outflow boundaries. You may have some stuff may get a little messy out there, but if storm mode holds off until mid afternoon, if I were a chaser, I'd be going to South Central Iowa because, goodness, it's going to be rough
Yeah, yeah. So just wanted to get a quick update out. We'll be posting a lot on our
all day.
Facebook with the same name as the YouTube, Florida Man Does Weather. So if you want to give us a follow over there, we'll be more consistent with the updates on that side. Tuesday, we're looking at just a continuation of the severe weather threat, but we'll address that as that comes. Right now, the focus is Monday, Monday, Monday.
Yes.
So stay safe out there, guys. Pay attention to your warnings. Pay attention to local meteorologists. And yeah, thank you. Good luck, everybody.